chapter 4, verse 1 and 2, saying that financial is not a set forgiveness. Hey there. Welcome to the Radical Godly Stewardship Podcast. Yes, this is the place where heaven's economy collides with earth's assignments, and I am your host, your financial rebel, your kingdom disruptor, your accountability coach into obedience. I am Dr. Lexi Johnson, and around here, we don't beg God for money, we align, we obey, we dominate. And if you're ready to steward well, think boldly, and build kingdom wealth, then you are absolutely in the right place. And we are getting ready to dive in. Now, I just want to give me a moment. Yeah, good. I just wanted to check um, something. I actually want to switch from these headphones. Give me just a second. Give me just a second. Speaker. There we go. I forgot that I had my computer connected to my headphones, so I wanted to get it switched from that. And also, I'm not at home, okay? I am visiting family, and so you are likely going to hear some noises or whatever. You might hear some running water right now because someone is getting clean, right? So it is what it is. It is what it is, people, okay? But I did not want to skip out. So today is episode 69, and we are talking about the silent squeeze. Okay. Now, I'll tell you what I mean by that by asking you a question first. Have you noticed that they keep saying inflation is cooling, right? They keep reporting. Let me adjust my camera a little bit. They keep reporting lower numbers, but have you noticed that your life doesn't feel any cheaper? It doesn't feel like inflation is cooling. It doesn't feel like numbers are lower, right? The groceries are still high. Insurance is still high. And listen, I live in a state is probably in the top 5, I'm sure, for how much insurance, particularly auto insurance, is, right? Rent is still high. Utilities are still high. So what is going on? Right? How can they report that there is a cooling of inflation, yet, all of these things are still high? Well, today we're talking about what I call the silent squeeze economy, And this is where the data says one thing, but our wallets are saying something else. Okay. So we're going to break down why inflation dropping doesn't mean relief. We're going to talk about what's actually happening behind the numbers. We're going to talk about why this season feels financially tight for so many people. And we're going to talk about how kingdom citizens respond. Remember, because we don't react, we respond with strategy and not frustration. But before we do any of that, of course, we have to do our stewardship check-in. Okay. So I want you to pause right now, and I want you to ask yourself, have I adjusted my lifestyle to match the current economy? Or am I still spending like things are cheaper than they are? Have I adjusted my lifestyle to match the current economy, or am I still spending like things are cheaper than they are? That is an important question, because denial is very expensive, right? And we can be saying with our mouths, yeah, things are so much more expensive, but we are not making adjustments. We're not making adjustments in our spending anywhere, right? So we have to be mindful of that. The next question I want you to ask yourself is, am I blaming the system, or am I strengthening my strategy? Right? Am I blaming the system, or am I strengthening my strategy? Listen, we can't really control the economy. We cannot, right? However, you and I, we are responsible for how we respond to it. Okay. So we can cast all the blame if that makes you feel better. However, casting blame isn't going to do anything, right? How are you going to respond? And question number three, do I have margin or am I stretched thin? Because listen, in a squeeze season, your margin is everything. And what do I mean by margin? Emergency savings, other types of savings, right? Things that you have been setting aside for when times get tight like this, right? Because the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. Proverbs 21:5. So, not intention, not frustration, but plans. Now, my students in the Financial Rebellion 90-day experience, we have a cohort that is going on right now. This is what they're learning, okay? That if they want to be considered diligent, right, that there are plans that they must have in place, that they cannot expect for, society, government, or anyone to come jumping to their aid when things in the economy are not going well, right? You have to prepare for you. Your creditors, your debtors, none of them are going to be like, you know what? You've been paying us so faithfully over the years. We see that it's a tight time. We're just going to give you some money, or we're just going to, not charge you for 6 months. Listen, that is not happening. Okay. So, what is the silent squeeze? Well, the silent squeeze happens when inflation slows down, but the prices don't go back down. Are y'all hearing me? I'm going to say that again. The silent squeeze means we may have lower inflation, but the prices are not going back down. Okay. It just means that prices are rising more slowly. So listen, if the groceries jumped 20% over time and inflation drops, the groceries aren't going back down 20%. It's typically not how it works. Okay. Now they might go down a smidgen, but they will not go back down that 20% if they go down at all. Okay. They just stop rising as fast. And that is why we can hear them reporting on lower inflation and all of that, but still feel tight in our pockets. Okay. Now, official inflation numbers don't always reflect your exact spending habits. They don't reflect your location. They don't reflect your lifestyle, and they don't reflect your income level. They don't. Okay. And this is why I asked one of the questions in the stewardship check, which was, you know, are you adjusting, right? Are you just still spending like, like we did not just go up, percentages on these various different things? So certain categories are still going to hit very hard. One of them being food, another being housing, another being insurance, and another utilities, right? And the crazy thing is that these things are your non-negotiables. You can't really just opt out of them, right? If you want a place to live, you got to pay some rent. If or a mortgage, you got to eat, right? Insurance, there's certain insurances that are mandatory, right? Utilities, my goodness sakes, everybody, wants running water, you want electricity, you want all the things, right? So you can't just opt out of these things. So even if inflation averages look better, your personal economy may still feel tight. So when these numbers are being reported, really, it has doesn't really have much to do with your personal wallet and what's going on, right? So let's talk about actually what's really happening, okay? Because that's important. So we are in what I call a cost adjustment economy. This is where businesses have raised prices, wages haven't fully caught up, okay, with the prices that are being raised in our groceries, food, utilities, insurances, all of that, right? Our wages are not catching up. And we as the consumers are absorbing the difference. This is why it's important for us to be producers. Now, I'm not going off on that tangent today, but this is why, right? So that you can give yourself a raise anytime you need it, okay? But now the higher cost level has actually become the new baseline. I was telling my children, I remember when getting gas was like 80 something cents, right? And I'm sure my parents remember it when it was even less than that, where you could fill up a gas tank for $5, right? That was the baseline back then, right? But the baseline now, like we're used to paying three something, right? And now I'm talking in the Midwest, and now our prices are slightly over four. But you've got other places in the US where they're paying $6 or more a gallon for gas, right? And these prices aren't going all the way back down to 89 cent. No, they're going to stay up there, right? So I remember we moved from 89 to like 90 something. Then when I was in college, some point when I was in college, it moved to like a dollar something, right? Each time those things became like the new baseline, right? So the danger in this season is not just the higher costs, it is the false relief that we feel when we hear that inflation is down. It is the false relief that we think, right? For us to think that things are getting better, but they're not really getting better. Okay. So we hear those things, and so we loosen up our discipline, we increase our spending, and we stop adjusting. We didn't have any physical evidence in our personal finances to do so, but just because we hear on the news to stop, that inflation is lower, some prices are going down, go out and spend, so we do. But we don't realize that this is this game that is being played, right? So the pressure is still there, but it's quieter because they're not bringing any attention to it, and we're not looking for it because we don't analyze our finances like that. We don't sit down and really look at what's coming in and what's going out. So Ecclesiastes 5:10 says, "Whoever loves money never has enough." But there's also another layer there, right? And that is that wisdom requires awareness of your environment. You cannot steward effectively if you misunderstand the season that you're in. So, most people are thinking that this is a relaxed season. And I'm here to tell you that this is far from a relaxed season. This is a season where we have to refine and we have to realign. Okay. That is the season in which we're in. We need to understand that prices are not going way back down to where they were a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever the case may be. They're not. Okay. So we have to refine what we're doing in our finances, and we have to adjust. Now, how do we respond strategically, right? How do we get out of this? I'm just reacting to what's going on to responding. Well, number one, you have got to cut what doesn't serve you. Listen, people, there are so many things that we just think, oh, I just have to have that, right? Oh, my Netflix and this, and I just have to have these things, right? You need to audit these things and say what is necessary in this time. What are some things I want, and can I get them in a different way, in a way that is cheaper for me, right? You have to audit your spending, your subscriptions, okay, that you're paying out every month. And half the things that you're paying out every month for these subscriptions you're not even using, right? And then when you look at it and say, I'm not using it, I need to cut it, but you sit there and you still rationalize some reason to keep it. How do I know this? Right? Because I'm human, right? I do the same thing. And I have to check myself and be like, now listen, you haven't used this in forever. Like, gonna let it go. Or you can find another provider of this that can give you the same quality for less, right? We have to look at our convenience habits, just things that we're just doing out of convenience. Now, one of those things could be going to get the hair done and the nails done and those types of things, right? Convenience things. They're not needs. There's things for convenience. Someone coming to mow your lawn, someone coming to, and I am not talking about like people who might have some limited mobility and can't do that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about those of us who can get out there and do these things, right? But we pay others to do it because it's convenient. We want to spend our time doing something else. You might need to cut one of those things or two or three for a season or forever, right? Impulse spending, impulse spending, right? Not the season for it. Okay. So audit your spending. Okay. And don't look at it as a place of restriction. Look, you're being intentional. And we always look at, oh, this is restrictive or this is that. But actually, there is freedom within the guidelines. There is freedom. It's like the 10 Commandments, right? People are like, oh, they're so restrictive. I can't do this and I can't do that. But the truth of the matter is, when you break them all, you can't live a free life. If you're a thief, you're constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering when you're going to be caught. If you're cheating, having an adulterous affair, that's not a free life. If you're any of those things any of those 10 Commandments that you break, it's not a free life, right? We just think, oh, because I'm out here doing what I want to do, when I want to do it, who I want to do it with, and however I want to do it. That's freedom. But it's not. Freedom is found within the boundaries of the 10 Commandments. Okay? Because I ain't got to be looking over my shoulder. I ain't got to be worrying about if someone is going to expose me. I ain't got to worry about any of that. Right? So the same with your finances. If you got to look and be like, okay, let me look at what's not serving me right now. It's not about being restricted. This is about you having some freedom, because the same people, the ones who are not willing to cut anything, feel like they just got to hold on to everything, are the ones who are stressing, trying to keep all the balls in the air. Okay. All right. This is also a season where you should increase your income very intentionally. So if your costs are up, your income has to follow. All right. And we know the 9-to-5s are not keeping up, right? So what skill can you monetize? Okay. What can you add to your income streams? All right. And some of us refuse, right? We just refuse. We know we need to make more income. We're just not doing anything about it. I guess we prefer to complain and be, in tight situations and in situations of lack. I don't know, but I'm gonna tell y'all something I don't like. I won't like. I don't like that. Okay. The next thing you should do is build financial margin. In this season, you need to create you some breathing room. Okay. So if you cut the things that don't serve you, you can now start saving consistently. You've reduced unnecessary obligations, right? And so you can avoid what I call the lifestyle creep, right? Just feeling like, oh, this is the next new thing that all the people are doing, and I have to have it for me, No, create yourself some breathing room, emergency fund, a fund for your automobile, like, if it goes down, just different, whatever is needed, right, for you, have some margin, okay? The next is to strengthen your systems. You need a plan. You need to allocate in a way that reflects reality. You need to budget within those allocations that reflect reality. You need clear financial priorities. This is no time for guessing or reacting or leading your money. Okay. And again, for those who are in my financial rebellion cohort at this time, where it's currently going on, This is what they're learning to do in real time, okay, with their monies, right? So we don't work in theoreticals in our class. We're working on your situation, right? Number 5, don't wait for relief. Okay, this is critical because the relief is not coming, not the way you expect it. Okay, so strategy has to replace hope because hope is not a strategy, and most people are just hoping and praying. Oh, the prices will go back down soon. Oh, I'm going to get some type of windfall. Oh, I'm hoping, my parents will help out, or I'm hoping I meet that spouse, who can take care of everything. No, that is not hope is not a strategy. Okay. The relief is not coming the way you expect it. Okay. So you have to have a strategy. The silent squeeze is part of something larger. It is part of something larger, people. So, economic pressure does two things: it forces some people to consume, to fall behind, to stay reactive, like they just lose it and they are out of control, right? But others, it pushes them to adjust, to build, and to position. And as a kingdom citizen, you should be in that latter portion where you are adjusting, building, and positioning. Okay. Because this is how wealth shifts. If you're looking for the great wealth transfer, it is not an event, people. It is what you are doing in this current season to adjust, to build, and to position yourself for it. Okay. It's not loud, it's quiet. All right. So if this episode is hitting you and you are realizing that you need to think differently about money, then this is the perfect time. Okay. Because this week marks the anniversary of the public release of my book. Yeah. Can you believe it's been a year? Stop begging God for money. This book is going to challenge your mindset, your habits, your approach to stewardship, and it's going to help you move from begging to building, from confusion to clarity, from cycles to strategy. Okay. And you can get your copy at authorlexijohnson.com. Okay. That's where you can get your copy. You could also get it on Amazon, anywhere online where books are sold. But if you know, I'd prefer for you to get it from my website, authorlexijohnson.com. Listen, the silent squeeze is real, but it doesn't have to break you. Okay. It can build you if you respond with awareness, discipline, and strategy. Don't ignore what you're feeling financially. You are feeling tightness because it is tight no matter what they are reporting, right? Interpret it correctly and move accordingly. All right. And that's a wrap. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Radical Godly Stewardship Podcast. I am Dr. Lexi Johnson, and I am reminding you to get out there and produce, multiply, and dominate. And I'll see you next time. God bless.